Today's about overcoming obstacles. And I also wanted to try to marry up the message with we have been at this now, I think about 11 and a half hours, if my math is correct. We've spent 11 and a half hours this week over the 4 days plus the little portion this morning. So far, we're a half an hour in talking about job searching and job searching mechanics. And a big part of it is being confident in reaching out to people, but you're also going to need a little tip on how to kill the interviews, right? How to crush them. And I thought this would be the greatest story to tell you that encapsulates this stuff. So about overcoming obstacles, one of the biggest things that we need to overcome with obstacles in anything that we do is our mindset, right? Believing that we can. So I thought about when the light turned green, I thought about this coaching session I had with a woman probably about 3 years ago. And I believe her name was Susan, I'm pretty sure. And I'm going to guess she was about 26 years old. She had a couple of jobs since college and maybe a couple years at one company and a couple years at another company. And she was wanting to change jobs. So she joined my job search coaching program. And as I've mentioned throughout the week, those people, if they want, can enroll in a coaching session with me. So she enrolled in the coaching session. And like every person who enrolls in these sessions, I ask them, okay, just send me a message. You can give me whatever you want your focus to be, any issues you think you're having. I want your resume. If you're interviewing for a job, send me the description. But basically, help me understand what it is you want to get out of our coaching session together. So she sent me her resume. And in her email to me, she said, Andy, I want to change jobs. I'm getting some interviews. But I feel like when I'm telling my story in these interviews or stories or answers or whatever it is, when I'm responding to the questions, I don't really feel like they're very powerful. And I think that's because I don't think that there's anything that I've done in my life that's really impactful. And maybe you feel like this. If you feel like this, give me a hey in the chat. And because one of the things, well, actually, so let me say two of the things that I know to be absolutely true, when somebody says that to me, I know these two things to be true. The first one is that statement in and of itself is wholly untrue. That I have never met a person in my entire life that had not done something impactful. It doesn't matter how old you are, right? She's say 26, give or take. But the second thing is, I also know that that person has not mastered the art of how to interpret their life and what their life truly means, or what's really happened as a result of them doing what they've done. Okay? Sometimes, all the time, maybe this, maybe that, but when you think about your life and the impact that you can have, most people don't have the right perspective or interpret it that way. And I want to talk specifically about that because it relates to you getting in motion, staying in motion, and also selling yourself in the interviews. And when I thought, I thought about what she was doing, and she was a data analytics person. And when I looked at her resume, on the surface, what she said would appear to be true to the naked eye. That I looked at her resume bullets and all those good things, and there wasn't a whole lot that really screamed off the page. But we got together, and I said to her, Susan, okay, we go through all this stuff, and then we kind of go through our housekeeping stuff, and we get into it. And she's giving me her background, and so I start to ask her a few questions because I'm trying to ascertain where the raw material is that's going to make powerful stories based on where she wants to go. And I said to her, you worked for, I think it was Sony, one of the entertainment and production companies. I said, this thing right here where you put an Excel spreadsheet together, can you tell me about that? And she said, okay, well, I had this assignment and I built this Excel spreadsheet. And I said, hold on, Susan, wait one more second. Sorry, let me ask the question differently. Why were you doing this project? And she said, oh, well, streaming music? And I said, yeah, like iTunes. She said, yeah, exactly. iTunes and Spotify and Google and all these platforms where people can stream their music. I said, yeah. She says, well, we have these artists, and what was happening is these artists were not getting paid royalties that they should have been getting paid, or we were paying them inaccurately, or maybe didn't have all the data that we needed to properly give them their royalty checks. Yeah? How many artists are we talking? Oh, thousands, Andy. Thousands, right. How much money are we talking? Like tens of millions? She's like, well, yeah, because some of these people are like really famous. And then some of them are not so famous. I said, let me get this straight. And as it turned out, you're the only person who is building this integration that's going to take data from Spotify and iTunes and places that you would think it would have been coming from already. And you extract that information, import it, sort it, and create the actual amounts that these artists are going to get paid to the tune of tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for thousands and thousands of people who are now going to get money that they should have been getting, or more accurately paid, or what the fair value was based on the contracts they signed. Right. Okay. So now I want you to think about what Susan is thinking is, I built a spreadsheet and a thing so that I could extract the information, transfer it, load it, get it in this format, make a report, and so on. And I'm thinking thousands of artists who I'm sure worked really hard on these songs and albums that is their craft, their life's meaning, to entertain people who are not getting paid for what they're doing. Can you see the difference in the impact that this has? And all she's thinking about is what she's doing at the moment and not paying any attention to why or what's actually happening as a result of what I'm doing. Who's guilty of this? Who's guilty of this? And what did I say in the little motivational lesson yesterday about the shout and the echo? When you are doing something, focus on the shout. When you are reflecting and looking for the value and the what actually happened, it's in the echo. It's in the ripple. I'm shouting right now into this volt-colored wind muff with the microphone. And guess what? Absolutely nothing at this moment is happening. You're taking the words in. That's it. They haven't had any impact yet. That happens tomorrow or next week, or when you get the job, or when you get your raise, or when you tell your friend, or whatever. Right? So I'm focused on the shout right now. But the benefit happens tomorrow. So when you are thinking about your life and you are looking at the things you've accomplished, I want you to truly look at what has transpired. That's a resume tip. Tell them in the resume what happened as a result of me doing what I did. Thousands of people got tens of millions of dollars because of something I built. I don't care if it took you 5 minutes or 5 years, right? It's in the echo. It's in the ripple. And then when you get into the interview, you tell the story, because you have to be confident enough to hit the damn send button, to send the message to somebody, to know that your resume, right, is a marketing document that's going to sell you, so that when you get in the interview, you're going to tell them the story about, with the context about the artists and the dollars and the royalties, or whatever it is for you. And that's going to help people understand your value. But if you want to talk to them about building an Excel spreadsheet, you're going to put them to sleep. Okay, so I want you to think about that. It's all connected. None of this works independently. But where you're focusing at any moment in time is dependent on what you're doing. When you're building the spreadsheet, I want you focusing on what you're doing. When you're telling the story about what happened, I need you to tell the story about what happened. Right? And the impact that you made, the values in the ripple. So I want you to think about that. And guess what happened to Susan? Next interview, she got a job, because she knew how to tell the story and she knew how to prove her value. So I want you to think about that, because today is about overcoming the obstacles, and the biggest obstacle you're going to need to overcome is any interference that's going on. I'm going to keep pointing to this kingdom right up here that's skull-shaped that we all have. We got to get rid of that nonsense. Okay? We got to get our focus in the right place and our appreciation and our perspective in the right place. All right, I hope that serves you. We're going to get into the teaching now, but I want you to channel that in.